Tensions seem to be rising between Australia and China, and that is our top focus this hour as Cheng Lei, a prominent Australian journalist and TV anchor for China's government-run English news channel CGTN, has been detained in Beijing. As tensions continue to escalate between China and Australia, the reason as to why Cheng Lei has been detained remains unknown, which poses a fresh challenge to the relations between both the countries. Cheng has not been charged as yet, but she is being held under residential surveillance. Australia had been informed by Chinese authorities on August 14 of her detention. The officials had a consular chat with her via video link on August 27.
Well, the Australian government was notified through our embassy of her detention on the 14th of August. We had consular access via video link on the 27th of August and continue to provide appropriately consular assistance to Ms Cheng Lei. We equally are working with her family, who have issued a statement acknowledging that they will respect the process and urging for people to respect their privacy and limit comment at this time.
The federal authorities in July had warned the citizens of arbitrary detention if they go to mainland China. The push sparked a tit-for-tat with China as Beijing urged its citizens not to travel to Australia due to what it said was a spike in racism towards Chinese visitors. For more details, let's quickly go across to our correspondent Patrick Falk, who's joining us live from Beijing for more details. Patrick, Australian authorities say they were informed about her detention in mid-August, but China has still not explained the reason for her detention. What's your assessment of the situation, especially in the backdrop of rising tensions between Beijing and Canberra?
Well, it's very hard to make any assessment at all, and it's difficult to say whether or not this has anything to do with the breakdown in relations, if you like, between Canberra and Beijing. There's been absolutely no coverage of this story in mainland Chinese media that we've seen. And of course, authorities have provided very little details. So it's still a total mystery as to what it is that Cheng Lei has done that's resulted in her being detained at this point. We did ask the Foreign Ministry about it today, a few questions in fact, but we didn't get much of a response. There was no elaborating on any particular details. One thing that is perhaps worth noting, one of the possible similarities between this case and the case of Yang Hengjun, another Australian, the political blogger who's been detained for endangering national security in China. He's been charged, in fact, is that both are described as being dual nationals, but China doesn't recognize dual citizenship, of course. That may or may not factor in, depending on whether Cheng Lei is found guilty of some sort of crime. Remember, in Yang's case, Australia has already pushed for him to be treated under international law, banning torture, inhumane treatment and arbitrary detention. There are lots of reports that have suggested that he's not being treated under that basis, though. So that might be a concern the longer that Cheng is kept in detention. And there are some suggestions that she may, in fact, have been held longer than we know about.
Right, Patrick, we're not surprised why the story is not getting coverage in China. But having said that, Cheng has no access to family or lawyer under what China calls RSDL. Is it a form of secret detention or is it house arrest? What form of detention is this?
Well, all we know at this point is that she's under residential supervision at a designated location. But that is about the extent of the condition that we are aware of that she's in right now. But you can imagine that this is a very sensitive story also for China, and that is perhaps part of the reason why her page has been taken down from her company. Of course, she works right behind me in this building at CCTV headquarters here in Beijing. Her videos and some of her articles have been purged as well from various sites. So that is perhaps telling that this is not just a sensitive issue for Australia, but also for China and in particular Chinese state media. So this is something that we will continue to follow for the time being. But as I say, there are very few details to go on at this time.
Right, very few details at the time. We'll keep coming back to you as and when more developments take place. Here's hoping Cheng is released as soon as possible. Thank you so much, Patrick, for bringing us all those precious inputs.